Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. And please welcome our guest speakers. And we will give them a minute to identify themselves and what they do.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name's Sian Witts, and I'm from the Corporate Passenger Transport Unit. So if you've got any questions regarding transport, please ask myself. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for inviting us here today. My name's Gareth Roberts, and I'm from the Highways Property and Works Department, and I look at future strategies in transport and what may be needed by everybody in the future and at present.
Hello everybody, I'm June Firth. I'm from the Housing Department in Ceredigion County Council, and at the moment we're planning future housing for the county for the next few years. So I'll be interested to hear what your opinions are and if you've got any questions for me. Thank you.
You can leave it on. I'm going to take it round. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming. We're hopefully going to have Donna Pritchard, who can answer questions about sort of day services, but also about housing, obviously, as well. She left earlier and she was going to come back, so I really hope she hasn't got waylaid. Okay.
Okay, just to run through the way that we're going to do this, our glamorous assistant here is going to take the questions out to the individuals who want to ask any questions about them. So, do you want to read the questions out, Nick, or do you want me to start? Oh, right, that's okay. Right, the first question here we've got is about transport, and it's from Jason.
Jason, who's just eating.
My question is, when it comes to transport, why don't the driver or ticket collector do more training in understanding people's disabilities? No.
That's great. That's great. Did you get that? Yes. I'm going to give you a mic.
There we are.
Videoed.
You've raised a very good point, Jason. This is something that all the commercial operators and service operators that provide bus services in Ceredigion now have to do as part of their CPT, which is the competence that the drivers have to achieve for driving vehicles. Unfortunately, some companies are ahead of the game and some aren't as good as others. A lot of it is down to each individual organisation as a business, how they actually carry on the training courses. We support wholeheartedly the views on this, that all drivers should be fully conversant with the needs of all its passengers. And I would suggest that one of the better companies, without advertising, is Richards Brothers, who do have a very good training regime for their drivers. We can only keep on pursuing the operators, but in the end, it's purely their own commercial decisions on how they actually carry on the training.
Okay, on to question number 2 from Griff. And this is a housing question.
House, right.
Griff wants to say that there's been a spare room in his house for 1 year now, and when will I get a new housemate, a suitable housemate to share?
Thank you, Griff. Brilliant question. Cool. This is going to get me fit. Do I ask you?
I can give Griff some information on that, but perhaps Donna can follow up as well. It depends who owns the house that you're in at the moment. It depends whether you own it or somebody else own it, and you pay the money to live there. And it depends whether the person who's going to live with you is going to help you from day to day, or if they're just going to come there as a friend. So I think, I'm not sure what your circumstances are, and I'm not sure if Donna is aware.
It's supported housing, right?
Yeah, I thought it probably was. It was at one of the supported housing places, yeah, that's got a vacancy. Now, we're aware there are a couple of vacancies currently in supported accommodation, but I think what people need to consider is that when we identify somebody to go into a supported accommodation, sometimes we have to do a lot of work to get them in there in the first place. And I am aware of one particular supported housing house at the moment where there's a vacancy that we're currently working very hard to get somebody out there, but we've had to do a lot of adaptations to the house because the individual's got a lot of mobility, disability needs. So on those things, unfortunately, take a bit of time because it's not our department that deals with that. But we have got people waiting on a waiting list for supported accommodation. So it's not that there's nobody wants to go there, it's a case of trying to identify the best fit for that particular house, because you want to have somebody there that you know that you're going to get on with. Sometimes it's an issue about whether it's a male or a female as well. And also we've got to consider about how that person's needs are going to be met. So we have to sometimes get adaptations done, equipment has to be ordered, etc., etc. So please be assured you will get a housemate soon. I don't know the particular circumstances, but I'm quite sure that it's on the cards.
Thanks, Donna.
Okay, the next question is from Aberaeron.
Arian?
How can or ensure that
voluntary
work
moves into employment. That's about coastal, isn't it?
Coastal.
Okay. I'm just going to repeat Ariane's question. How can you ensure that voluntary work, coastal, moves into employment? Is that for one of you two? Donna?
Glad I came now. It's a difficult question to answer, and I haven't got a right or a wrong one. The whole point of offering people voluntary work is that they try to gain some of the skills and the experience in actually being out there in the workplace. Because quite often when you go for interviews for jobs, the first thing they ask you is, have you got any experience working in that area? And if you've done voluntary work, that actually goes a long way to help you in getting a job. Unfortunately, as you're all aware, the job market's not a very easy one at the moment, and getting jobs is harder and harder for everybody. But coastal, the whole idea of coastal is to try to make sure that people with disability have as much as they possibly can with regards to skills and experience and help and support to get themselves on the job market. So whilst I can't guarantee anybody a job at the end of it, I would hope that the experience of volunteering in itself would be something that you'd enjoy, and people will value that, but it will help you when it comes to looking for a new job. Does that help? Does that help answer the question? Yeah? Thank you.
Our next question's from Gwyneth. It's about transport.
Gwyneth. Oh.
I hate talking from there. Okay. I can't read my idea.
Okay. Sometimes it's difficult to read timetables. Why can't they be bigger and easier to read? Could you pass the mic down, please, Donna? Thank you.
Very good question, Gwyneth. And it's very difficult to answer, to give a definitive one to, because one of the reasons that timetables are as they are is that, one, it's limited space usually where they have to be displayed, and it's the difficulty in getting all the information that people require, especially if there are multiple routes or many routes at a particular stop, in getting that information. We are trying to develop new timetables where the information will be just the information required at that particular stop. At the moment, one of the reasons, and we're getting sort of information from users, is that sometimes there's too much information on a timetable, and that we are endeavouring to provide simpler and more readable timetables. So it's a very good question and something we are working towards.
I mean, just a bit of comments about that. Quite a while ago, I think the Welsh Assembly wrote some information about how, or part of a consultation to do with transport, and that was one of the things. So that was quite a long time ago. So I'm wondering when you could say this might happen.
Again, it's, as you would probably appreciate, a lot of it is down to finance and actually getting the information there. One of the issues with timetabling is that bus companies are quite free to change their journeys very often on especially commercial services, and it's keeping up to date with providing information as soon as we get it. We have got very limited resources within Ceredigion, and that's no excuse, but it's one of the reasons why things aren't moving on as quickly as we would like it to move on.
Okay, the next question is from Sophie.
Sophie? Do feel free to
Okay. Why don't we have people with learning difficulties doing the inspections in like care homes or supported housing or that kind of thing?
Sorry, did you say why don't we have people? That's a good question, actually. A very good question. Could we? In some areas, they do. They do. It's not a new idea. It has happened in some areas. And there is a process called My Life Reviews. I don't know if anybody's heard of that. But it's a process whereby a group of people who are trained up to be reviewers, and that can include service users of the services, families, carers, lay people, support workers. It doesn't matter where they come from. And you've got a group of people that come along and they go in and review a service. And from that, then, we can discover whether the services are appropriate to meet the needs of the local community. And it's an idea that we are currently looking at in Ceredigion. I can't say for certain that we're going to do it anytime soon, but it's certainly something that we have. I don't know, quite a few of you here might know Darren Phillips. Yes? Anybody know Darren? Darren has been advocating that we look at doing My Life Reviews in Ceredigion for a while. So it is something that is there on the, to think about. And I think that would be a really good way of getting people with disability sitting on those panels of reviewers to go out and help do those reviews. So I hope it's something we will be doing in the future, but I can't promise it's going to be very soon.
Okay, the next question is from Arlene.
Where's Arlene? It's you. Oh. Okay. Will there be choice about support needs?
Yes, I do.
You're asking the question, will there be choice about support needs?
Yes, I agree with them.
Okay, I wasn't with Arlene when she made this question, or when this question happened on her table. But it says, will there be choice about support needs? I'm assuming that's choice of support.
Yes, I agree with that. Yes, it could help people.
Okay.
So the question is, will there be choice about how you get your needs supported? Is that what you're saying? Yes. Yeah? Okay. Okay, well, I would like to think that people do have some degree of choice now, although I'm quite sure that people would think that they could have more. The problem with having more choice means that we've got to develop more services. And what we've got to think about is looking at that in our current climate of limited resources, having the money to be able to develop services. And sometimes what we have to do is make the services we've got better to provide more choice. And just for everybody to be aware, one of the things we're currently looking at and working on in social services is developing some pilots in Ceredigion around different choices for respite and short breaks. Because up until now, the choice for respite and short breaks has been very small. There's not been a lot there. But what we're going to try and do in the next sort of 6 months or so is looking at different choices for people so they don't have to go with what we've currently got. So I would hope that that's one way of trying to demonstrate we're trying to provide more choice. Is that okay, Arlene? Yes. All right.
Thelma. Thelma, can you read this?
Give me a hand, please. Give me a hand.
Okay. How will we be at the Guildhall? Because I don't like it, this situation.
You do it for me.
Can you say that?
You do it.
Okay. So Thelma's question is, how long will we be at the Guildhall? Because me and Gary don't like this situation.
All right. For those of you in the room who don't know what's going on around the Guildhall, unfortunately, Canolfan Megan, which is one of our day services in Cardigan, most of you know it, unfortunately we've had to close it. It's not because we wanted to, but unfortunately we're in a position where we had to. We are currently trying to provide a service for the service users that attend Canolfan Megan in the Guildhall in Cardigan. And it's very early days yet, and I know that it's very difficult for a lot of the people who attend. What we are doing at the same time is trying to look at what's the best way to provide a new service for Canolfan Megan in the future. And we are going to be doing some consultation work with Canolfan Megan service users and staff, as well as the Hafod in Cardigan, to look at two options that they've put forward for us to consider for a new centre in Cardigan. So the answer is that you will be getting a new centre, but unfortunately, the interim, for the time being, the Guildhall is the best we've got to offer, and I hope that it won't be too long that you'll be in the Guildhall. We can move on to a new centre for everybody. Is that all right, Thelma? Yes. Good. Okay.
Yeah, do feel free to respond back to the people who have answered the question as well, if there's something else you wanted to add, because I think that's part of it. Next person.
Got a question from Peter. Yep.
Peter.
When I went to Brighton, I couldn't use my bus pass. Why can't it have a bus pass for England, Wales and Scotland and Ireland?
Unfortunately, the same rules are in England. The English pass is only valid in England. The money actually comes from the Welsh Government, so they're only prepared to pay money for the Welsh people. So sorry for that, but it's Welsh Government money.
I suppose the issue that's raised then is there scope then for the devolved government to agree a policy on this, to work together to produce a policy to help people?
That's something that the Welsh Government... Sorry. It's about the bus passes. You know, the bus passes, whether they could be used in England, Scotland and Ireland, the Welsh ones. It's something that would have to be brought up with the Welsh Government. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, right. We've got a question here about support, and it comes from Jonathan.
Why should the quality of support change because of the cuts?
That's a difficult one to answer, because I suppose what we would need to do is to evidence that the quality of the support has actually changed. Because everybody's having to tighten their belts, as you know, not just social services, the council, but everybody in general. And most organisations are having to look at the way that they provide their services better to make good use of the money that they've got. Now, some have done that very well. Some perhaps need to go back to the drawing board and relook at it. All I can say is, from regard to the support that we commission through social services for people in Ceredigion with disability, that we are very conscious of the fact that we need to make sure that there is good quality services provided and good quality support. And we are putting mechanisms in place within the department to make sure that we are checking that quality is there. And if it's not, why not? Because we do need to ask those questions. What I would say to all of you is that if anybody here feels that they're not getting a quality service, or they have got concerns about the support they're receiving, they need to let us know. Because at the end of the day, if we're not told there's a problem, we can't do anything about it. So, you know, we really do encourage people, if you've got concerns or if you've got any issues, there is a process within the department for you to put those concerns in, and we look at those, and we have regular monitoring meetings with our support providers, and any of those concerns then are brought to that table so that we can thrash it out with them and say, look, we're not happy, you're not doing this or you're not doing that, what are you going to do about it? Because at the end of the day, if we're paying them, we need to be making sure we're getting good value for money and quality, which is a good point. Is that okay, Jonathan? Does that answer the question?
Yeah, my just concern is really that everyone, as you say, has to make cuts to their budgets, and major ones in that. But it's all about, I think, making the quality of the support effective to the budget that they've got. And certainly when I was in Ceredigion, that wasn't happening. So, you know.
I think we have become a little bit more aware of what some of the issues are, and I take on board what you're saying. I don't think it's been very good, perhaps, historically, and I think that's one of the reasons why, through our learning disability strategic multi-agency group, that we, you know, a lot of people were picking up on these issues that you're referring to, and we have tried to address it through, you know, looking at that with people from the housing department, with people from our RSLs, the registered landlords, you know, who manage the accommodation for us. And, you know, I'm not saying it's perfect yet by any means, but I would like to think that we are trying to make some inroads into actually improving that. But there are systems in place for people. You know, if you feel that you can't do it yourself, or if you ask your support staff or, you know, your advocates if they would put in those issues for you through that concern. There's a concerns process that you can raise those. They're not complaints as such, but there's a complaints process as well. But if there's just a concern about the quality of the service you're getting, you need to be raising them through that channel, because that's the only way we can then say, well, actually, hang on a minute, there's a problem here, we need to do something about it.
Thank you.
Okay. You want to...
The reason for, I'm glad that Peter brought up that bus pass up, that you can use it once you want a bus pass in England, Scotland and Wales. The government wants to look into it. I'm so glad he did, because so many people from Wales want to go shopping and they haven't got shops, the big shops like Marks and Spencer's, M&S and so forth, haven't got them. But it's the finding the resources and the finances. I wish they would, you know, it makes it so much easier. For travel and so forth, like a mini passport. But I can't understand why they have to wait so many months to get a bus pass, even doctor's sick note. Why can't they have a long-term bus pass?
There are two aspects to that question, and I'll just add a little to the first one, is that, as Sian rightly said, the provision of bus passes in Wales is a devolved decision by the Welsh Government, and it's the same in Scotland and England. The only way you'll get harmonisation of the use of bus passes if the UK government itself decides that it is willing to subsidise the cost. And the only way that can be achieved is that if you, as users, and you feel strongly about this, lobby your MP, not your AMs or your local members, because we have no influence, or especially the local members have no influence at all on the bus passes, but your MP, he's the only one that can actually bring this point in Parliament, because it's a UK Parliament decision to harmonise the bus passes between the three devolved nations.
If I can add regarding having a replacement bus pass, if you're on higher rate mobility, it automatically can be done straight away. But then if you're not on higher rate mobility, we do have to have evidence from a doctor so that we can issue a pass. And then there are dates put on those. They're not automatically until 2019. So.
Can I just ask one question, which I know the rules are about to change, aren't they, for blue badge holders?
Blue badge isn't considered anymore for the application for bus passes.
It isn't?
No.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I think that there's a consultation opening, and the question is, with DLA moving over to PIP, which is a slightly different system, how should the role of the blue badge play? So if you are on, should they link whether or not you get a blue badge with if you get a higher rate of PIP, or should it be a completely different process? So that's something that we're going to have to look at and respond to the consultation, you know, among CPF as an interested party. I think that's the position anyway. Right, we've got a question. We've got three people asking a very similar question. We've got Griff, Nick and Hugh. So if you can ask all those people to ask their questions.
Griff. So the question is, how can you supply more employment opportunities? Say that?
Oh.
You want more employment opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
Griff wants to know, how can you supply more employment opportunities?
Hugh?
If I can read my writing. Can't read out my glasses.
It says, why can't day service provide... Oh, my giddy aunt. Why can't day services provide something for people who left school and college early?
Qualification.
Okay, go on then.
Why can't the day centres provide a qualification, like MVQ certificates, so that people left college and school earlier, 15-year-old, the high-me generation, the next generation?
And the last one, which is a similar question.
That was my mistake of not reading the question properly.
Nick?
Yeah. Okay, why can't services employ us as support workers as it would lead to a job and get us off benefits?
Right, so in conclusion, you've been given two different questions. One is with regards to employment opportunities with day services or generally, and then the second one is about day services providing qualifications.
And then wage package as well.
Well, yes, then wage package.
If you do employment now.
Okay, I'll try and see if I can answer it as structured as I can without rabbiting on too much. Right, there are various projects currently going on nationwide as well as locally around trying to help and support people with disability into employment. The key one, of course, being Coastal, which we've already referred to today. And, of course, that whole point of Coastal is to try to get people skilled up and workforce ready effectively. The issue that Hugh raised specifically about qualifications for young people is that there is actually a project out there that actually does do that. It's called the NEAT project. I don't know how many people have heard of it, but it's not in education, employment and training. That's it. But that's exactly what Hugh is saying. The young people coming through who've left school early, they are young people who effectively have left school with no qualification.
Donna, it doesn't work like that because a lot of people, like my generation, have lived 26 years in this country and did education abroad, and it doesn't match up with British education. It's very hard. Most people go to the job centre disabilities. Most of the job centres jobs are out of date, English, Welsh and driving licence. You're stuffed.
So you're saying then it's about young people who may not have received qualifications who are now older?
Yeah. Those
and
people
about getting qualifications as they're getting older,
you
mean?
And it's
right, okay,
people
fine.
Education abroad.
Okay. But again, that's where Coastal comes into it, because they have now identified numerous training opportunities for people coming through Coastal. And that includes things like MVQs. We've got people doing HGV driving licence courses to try to get them to be long-distance lorry drivers. We've got people doing secretarial courses so that they can go on to do admin work. And, we have had some success with that, but it's about matching the right training for the right person and what it is that they want to do. But there are other things going on that not within social services. I mean, there is a big nationwide initiative currently about getting people into employment. And I can't talk too much about it because I don't know anything about it, other than I know that it's out there. Because if you're signed up for one, you can't be signed up for the other one. So that's why I know that it's there. But that's done through the job centre. So there are lots of initiatives that are coming out of the Welsh Government and the UK Government currently around trying to get people skilled up and trained up and getting qualifications. And all I could say to people is that if there is a particular qualification that you would really like to do, then it's about highlighting that to your support staff so that that can be put forward possibly through the Coastal team so that they can look at how that can actually be achieved. Is that okay?
Anybody got any further comments about that?
Well, how come we've never heard of these programs? I mean, the job centre doesn't exactly say to you, oh, by the way, we've got a huge list, here you go. It's more like, well, that's for 16 to 24-year-olds, so we can't really let you in on that. This programme doesn't really fit you, so we can't offer that to you. So you think, well, Coastal, you're going to get trained, but you're not going to get a job. So it's a case of, oh, well, out the door, goodbye.
Well, at the end of the day, if you don't do the training, you don't know if you can get the job. So, it's a bit of a chicken and the egg situation, really. But with regards to your comment, Nick, about employing people with disability, that's obviously something that we are really keen to do and really want to get that, sorted out. As one of the biggest employers within the county of Ceredigion, the council is very keen to support people to be employed within its own organisation. And I am aware of several people that have actually gained part-time employment with the council, and some of that through the coastal schemes. So, you know, it is happening, but it's very small at the moment. But bearing in mind we are looking at a bigger jobs market as well, and we have to look at the skills, really, that people have got. I mean, one of the questions that was things we discussed on the table around day services and support that I was sitting on previously was about making sure that we employ people as support staff who've got experience and skills. But where do those people get those experience and skills if we don't give them a job in the first place? So again, you know, we have to think about that when we're taking people on to do these jobs. You know, sometimes we do take people on with no skills, but the expectation is that they will learn them on the job.
Yeah, the problem with coastal is that with some of the training that's supposed to be offered, some of us get told, no, you're too old, so we can't offer that to you. It's a bit of an insult, don't you think?
Well, I can't speak for specific instances, Nick, I'm sorry. I'm not that involved with coastal to be able to answer that, sorry.
Okay.
Fred? Fred?
All mine's housing, isn't it?
Yeah. I was told it would take 2 years.
Yeah. What I was going to ask is, how long does it take to move from house to house?
Well, Fred, it depends on where you're living now and what sort of house you want to go and live in.
Yeah. And the second question is the same thing about housing, but the house has started to be built, but it never got finished.
All right. Do you know anything about that, though? Because I don't know where that is.
That's up in North Wales.
Right, okay.
That's where I was going to live.
Right, so that wouldn't be in Ceredigion, though, you see, so we wouldn't know about that one. But for your first question, what I can say to you is, first of all, you need to have your name down on a list to say that you want to move, and then when something suitable comes up for you, then that will be offered to you. Now, because there's other people looking for housing as well, sometimes that takes quite a long time. It depends really where you want to go and live. But if you're in Ceredigion, as long as you've got your name down on our housing register list, then you will be considered when something suitable comes up. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Now, the third question is similar to that, is when the house was on a disabled premises, got started, the one that never got finished.
Right, right. This is the one in North Wales, is it?
This is the one I was going to have, yes.
Right.
But it never got finished, so I never could move.
Okay, so you're still living in Ceredigion at the moment, are you?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're going to stay here, or are you still hoping to move?
I would like to move, yes.
Right, okay. Well, I think probably the person who helps to support you can make some inquiries to see if there is anything suitable for you in North Wales, if that's where you want to live. But other than that, we wouldn't know about that, you see, because it's outside the county. Okay? But if you want housing inside the county, if you just want to move from where you are now to somewhere else in Ceredigion, then you need to have your name down on the housing list. And as I say, when something suitable comes up, then you will be offered it.
Yeah, I had that done 3 years ago, but I never got done.
Right, okay. You only need to make sure your name is on that list again then, because some other people will be on the list as well, and they may be offered property.
Yeah, but it'll take twice as long now.
Well, you never know, because it depends where you want to go. You see, in some places there's more housing available than
the
in
housing
others.
is on private property.
Yeah.
And it's already started.
Right.
But never got finished.
Yeah. So you're going to have somewhere else now, aren't you, instead of that one, really?
No, I'd like to have that house finished, then I can move in.
Well, you'll have to have somebody make inquiries for you about what happened with that house and why it was never finished. There may be a good reason why. It might be because of not enough money or something like that, but you'd have to ask the people in North Wales who were building that house what the situation is. Okay?
Yes.
Thank you, Fred. Can I take your question with me? Thank you.
Right, the next question is from Nick, so our glamorous assistant doesn't have to go very far. But as a precursor to this, I think This is an issue that I'm quite interested in, and I suspect that it's not targeted at the correct tier of government here, but I would like to hear Sian and Gareth's opinions on it anyway.
Yeah, when can we expect to have the old Carmarthen line reopened?
It's a very good question, and probably the answer is never. There's a lot of romanticism about this line, and the problem is that what people tend to forget that it is a very tortuous and slow service. That it took hours to get from Aberystwyth to Carmarthen. There is now an hourly bus service which gets you there much quicker, and the cost of redeveloping the existing trackbed would be horrendous. If there was limited finance, or if there was no limit on the finance available, and no other parts of the UK were calling for improved infrastructure, there's a long-term vision that a new line is the best option. And this would possibly be from Lampeter towards Llandailo and join in that way. But again, you're talking in excess of £500 million to £750 million, and in this day and age, that sort of money is not available. So, unfortunately, I'll be pushing up the daisies before any work is done on the Carmarthen line, and the only thing I can suggest is that you lobby for even better bus service than there is now.
Yeah, the problem is that it would make getting to Aberaeron so much easier, because the buses can take at least 50 minutes, where the train would probably take 20, 25, and you would not have to go to Shrewsbury to go to anywhere else, because that is a real pain in the backside.
I agree with that last... Right. Okay, we've got a question now from Faye.
Hi, my name's Faye. My question is, what happens to someone like me if, at the minute, I live in an adult placement in Llachar near Cardigan? What happens if I move out? What sort of housing accommodation could I think about going into as a young adult?
Okay. At the moment, you live with a family in adult placement, you? Okay. Have you discussed with them that you might like to move out?
No.
You haven't? Because that would be the first step, really, because they can perhaps help you then to look for somewhere, and they'll have somebody from the council who also comes to visit you sometimes. Do you have an officer coming from the council?
I'm not sure.
I think they probably will, and then between them, and with your help, obviously, they can find somewhere that you might want to live, somewhere independently, and perhaps if you need some support, then they can offer that support for you as well. But what I would do is, if that's what you're thinking of, have a word with your family first, and they can take it forward and help you then to look for something. Okay? That's the first step.
Thank you, Faye. Okay, let's get through these questions. Where's Hugo? He's not here?
Okay. Do you want to ask that question?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Why, when we have buses in Cardigan, like some buses are okay and other ones go past too early or too late, and if I'm trying to cross the road, I sometimes try and flag them down to stop and they go past too early. Why do they get away with that?
So, you mean they're going before they should?
Yeah.
Right. Actually, with that, we actually need to know about this so that we can inform the contractor. So any complaints that we can inform them, and they can, if it's Richard Brothers, they've actually got tracking.
It's Morris Travel.
Morris Travel, which is Carmarthen, Siwled. But if you want to inform us, or manager, I say, I can't really answer for them because, as I say, richer brothers, they have tracking, so they can have a word with the drivers and can tell exactly the time they're going through. But I'll pass your concerns on to Commander with regard. Is it happening very often?
It has happened 3 or 4 times in the last month or so.
Right. And any particular time?
They just go like 7 or 8 minutes earlier. When I'm trying to cross the road, they can see I'm trying to flag them down, and they sort of shoot past and they don't stop.
Right. It's a 460 service
Yeah,
you're
like
talking?
when I'm trying to cross from the left-hand side to the right-hand side to go up to Cardigan, because there is a bus that goes down to like Emma and all that, and then when I try and stick my arm out to like show the driver I'm trying to cross the road, sometimes they go past so fast that they don't stop to see. Like,
whereabouts do you actually live? In Llechred?
Yeah.
And is it a particular time normally?
It's like when there should be like an 11:45 or 11:47 bus.
Okay.
They go past sort of really early, like 11:39 or something. They go past sort of quite a few minutes earlier than they should.
Okay, I'll pass that on to Commander with Adam Morris Travel. Okay.
Oh, no, my question is, how is it? Yeah. Yeah. Regarding housing, I live in a flat above a noisy neighbour who's been playing our music from around the hours between 10 p.m. to the 4th in the morning. And why should people with disabilities like myself put up with problem families slash problem people?
Well, the quick answer to that is you shouldn't have to put up with it.
I mean, I found a police several times, but
Right.
all they done is brush on the carpet by saying, oh, just for this nuisance book, you know, just brush on the carpet, that's it.
And it's happening all the time,
Yes.
is it? Right, okay. Well, we need to make sure that somebody does know about it. And if the police aren't going to do anything about it, then you can tell the council about it. It's called the Environmental Department, and they will come along and they'll check that these people are making a lot of noise, and they will make them stop.
You know, the
stop
thing
it,
is, these
basically.
council people call during the day, and my noisy neighbour is either out or fast in bed. Either way, doesn't answer at all.
Well,
No answer.
they will probably call to see you and ask you what's happening and what time it's happening.
I've been through that. I told him what the problem was.
And nothing's happened, is it?
Nothing. They just put it in the carpet. And
Okay.
they've called him a noisy neighbour, and they even no answer, always out.
Mm.
And when he is in during the night, all I get is boom, 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 from 10 p.m. to 4 in the morning. I don't sleep.
And you live in a flat, do you?
I live in a flat in Birmingham. I live in 56.
Right.
This noisy neighbour is in 585.
Okay.
And like I said, he just goes boom, 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 boom.
Well,
full blast.
Do you want me to find out for you if anybody can do something about it? Because they should be doing something. You shouldn't have to put up with that. Do you want me to make some inquiries for you?
I mean, like I said, he's either, during the day, he's either out or fast in bed. He's made no attempt to find work whatsoever.
Right, okay. Where do you live? Right.
He's a flat below me. He's also in Cardigan. And like I said, I've made an attempt to find work, but Aaron, he's made no attempt to find work whatsoever. He's either out during the day or in bed, fast asleep. And at night, all I get is boom, 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 full blast on stereo.
And when did you...
It's not funny, it's serious.
When did you make a complaint about it last? Was it recently? When did you make a complaint about it last?
Last few weeks.
Last few weeks, okay.
I mean,
Just need to
the
know.
second he moved in there, all I had is boom, 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 boom.
Okay. I'll find out for you. I promise I will find out for you. And I will either send you a letter or if I can get a telephone number for you, I'll give you a ring, okay? To let you know what's happening. Okay.
This is regarding... Thank you. Why can't the clients of the houses, the charity homes, into the new start before they start working the new homes? Like Mencap, for example. Because yeah. For example, one of our relief workers started work, and I went to find where he was. I couldn't find him. All I could find him in his new bedroom, because one of our clients had moved to Carmarthen, and another one passed away this week. And I found him on his laptop on Skype with his girlfriend. And when his girlfriend said, "Who's that?" he paused it.
So this is a member of staff, is
Yeah,
it?
relief
and
workers.
and they should be working and they're not, is that what you're saying?
Well, it's,
Yeah?
they're not doing half the job.
Okay.
It comes back to the answer I gave to a previous question, really, that if you're experiencing those sort of problems, they need to be reported. And if you don't report them, then there's very little we can do about it. I mean, if that support is being commissioned by us as a department to support people in that house, we need to know about it. Because otherwise we can't do anything to resolve the problem. Because you're right, it shouldn't happen. We do need to do something about it.
You see, the problem is I can't understand how they get away with it. Like, for example, they don't understand people who are autistic, got epilepsy, and they're not trained on how to cope with these people. They think they know all their academics. They've got degrees to name their names. They've got all the best qualifications about. But when you know they always wear their mask and they don't understand their clients, it's very sad.
Well, all of our providers that provide support that we commission are required to train their staff to a certain level. And that's part of the monitoring that we do with our providers to make sure that they are training their staff. Again, if you are concerned that some staff aren't being trained or haven't got the necessary knowledge and skills, again, it's about putting that through the concerns process so we can pick up on it. Because that's the only way we can do anything about it, you see, Hugh. If we don't know about it, we can't resolve the problem.
Yeah, and I feel that there's a lot of people, independent myself, need training ourselves. Like, I've asked for, before the new staff started coming, also to do the awesome course, and it didn't work, just like a commission said, sorry. Then we need training ourselves.
Well, again, if you're identifying that you yourselves have got training needs, then again, if you can flag those up, then we'll try to see if there's any way we can work with the providers to make sure that you get it.
Right, we've only got about 5 minutes left, so we've only got another couple of questions. But we've got one here, which is why are public bus shelters not very sheltered from the wind and the rain? Is there anything that transport can do to make it, a better environment to wait for your bus? And also, there's an issue here raised about people smoking in bus shelters. So, what can be done about that as well?
To answer the second question first, if it's an enclosed shelter, it is against the law to smoke in that shelter. And when the law initially came out, there were signs put up, but a number of people have been taking them down. But it's still against the law to smoke in an enclosed shelter. However, the law does allow smoking if the shelter is a cantilever or open on one side. So there is an issue with the law. As to why such different types of shelters are provided at different locations, it quite often has to do with where the shelter is situated and the amount of room that you have to provide a shelter. It's very difficult on some of the very narrow footways to provide a fully enclosed shelter, and there you have to either provide a cantilever but still allow enough room for people to pass in front of the shelter. In an ideal world, there would be enclosed shelters at every location, but again, it's down to land ownership and difficulties. You'd be quite surprised at the difficulty it is in providing a shelter in front of somebody's house. Everybody wants to use the bus, but nobody wants to shelter in front of their house. And it's a long, protracted discussion usually, and sometimes we can't provide them at all. So most of the shelters are as they are because there are unique issues at that particular locations. Where we can put a fully enclosed shelter in, we will endeavour to put a fully enclosed shelter in.
That's a very well-answered question. Very detailed.
Good. Yeah, we'll have one last question. Of course, in an ideal world, all the buses would run on time and you wouldn't have to be waiting long at the bus shelter. No. But we've got...
Climate chaos, you
Well. We've got a final question here from Faye.
Oh yeah. How can you make sure specific needs are met and in a relevant time frame?
It's important that when we're looking at how needs are going to be met, then obviously that's part of the assessment that's completed by your case manager. But it's also very important as part of your review. You know, when you're having your review, and I hope that most of you have person-centred reviews, and it's your opportunity as part of that review to make sure that you highlight whether or not you think your needs are being met or not.
Because since my support worker went on maternity leave, I've had people come in, out, and people leaving and people changing all the time. Nothing is stuck to what it was planned to be, and it's constant change, and nothing's ever sort of organised properly. Everything's always last minute, and always when I'm not available and things like that.
I think, you know, that's obviously a problem because that's something we have very little control of, is if people go off sick or they're, you know, have long absences of leave, particularly when they know you very well.
Yeah.
And you've got different people coming in.
Because I had a planned support worker, and she only left after a few days and didn't come back, and went and moved to London from Wales.
Right, okay. I mean, I think it is a problem, you're right, and it's how we manage that. But I think it's important that's why you need your care plan and your service delivery plan to be quite, you know, explicit, explaining everything that needs to be done.
I'm sort of quite flexible, sort of. I don't like too much change. I don't mind one person, but I've got two people at the minute coming in and out, and it really confuses me because they always ask me questions, and they should know my history. They should know about me by now, and they're always asking good questions, which gets me really frazzled.
Well, I think I would suggest in your specific instance, you need to speak to your case manager to ask her to speak to the provider to make sure that there's something done about that, because that shouldn't be happening at all. And I think you need to have some consistency, and it's up to the provider of that service to make sure you get that consistency. So I know that some of the providers have trouble with recruiting sometimes and getting, you know, steady staff in, but it sounds to me as if it's been going on for a little while.
Yeah, for the last 10 months.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be going on. We could expect it for a very short period, but not for that length of time. So I do think it's something that needs to be raised with your case manager so they could try and sort it out for you.
Yeah.
Well, in most instances it's a social worker, but it could be one of the nurses from CTLD. But, you know, there are other people that case manage, but it could be more often than not, it's a social worker.
Because a lot of them are asking questions, and they should know my history, and they're always asking, what's this, what's that, when they should have read my case note.
Yep, they should. And I think that's an issue that needs to be taken up with that service provider.
I was just going to say, as a support worker, for the work that we do, everybody I know in the support absolutely love the job and do it because we love the job, but we all feel that we're not getting the pay that we deserve. So that is probably why there's people coming and going out of the service. It's not because we don't like the job, it's because of the pay, really. So, sorry.
I mean, recruitment and retention is a long-standing problem, particularly within this type of service, because what you're saying is quite correct. You know, the pay scales, particularly with the independent sector, are quite poor at times. And you can appreciate why people will move on if they get an opportunity for another job.
And because, like, when I have these support workers going in and out and stuff, I always have, like, a load of paperwork building up because my housing benefit and my ESA and stuff are always suspended at the minute, and I'm trying to sort it all out, but it's getting really frazzling.
Yeah, and that's what you need support in actually getting done, you know. So, again, you do need to flag that up because it doesn't sound as if things are working very well there.
No, thank you.
Stopped?
Just stopped, so you won't have to stay here.
That's phenomenal!
Yeah.
Hang a minute. This has got to be This is David Baker's.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, that is yours, David Baker. You said, who is going to make sure that money is spent wisely?
Why do you know? Got in my head.
You don't have to shout. You don't have to shout. Nice and gently, nice and gently.
Why did you get some money for it? Put on the money for the people first. But the people first for Paris. But because I want to know if we're going to want some money for the people first. Back to the people first.
I'm assuming what you're saying is you're saying, is there any funding for Ceredigion people first? Yeah, okay. Well, the problem we've got, and we've mentioned this several times already this afternoon, is that the amount of money we've got is very limited. And we have to be very careful about how we spend it. And there are quite a lot of controls about how that money is spent as well. Now, we are currently, in the department, looking at reviewing all of the funding that we give out to people in the voluntary sector and in the third sector. So what we're doing is looking at saying, well, where is the money actually going? Now, if Ceredigion People First are able to offer a service that we're currently not getting, then it's possible that that could be considered as part of that funding. But at the moment, all of the funding that we get as a department is not only committed, it's actually being cut. As we've already discussed, we're getting cuts all over the place. So the amount of money we've got is getting less, and there are more and more people out there asking for it. So what we have to be clear about in Ceredigion is what do we want from our services? And then we will be asking the services, what can you provide? And it's what we call a tendering process of saying, well, we want X, Y, and Z. And then we ask all the people out there in the community, what can you provide? And it's up to you then to say, well, we can provide X. And then we will say, well, we'll give you X amount of money to do it. So, you know, there are processes that we have to go through, unfortunately, and that's the way it works.
It has to be very quick.
You don't need that. You don't need that, Crowley.
Yes.
Say it.
Yes, I want to say it.
Go on then, say it.
Tia sat down now. I used to work there.
Oh, in Tia Gored, is it?
Yeah, Tia Gored.
Yeah, Tia Gored was the animal sanctuary over in Cribin. Yeah, it's closed down now, yes.
I met to Liesnes many years ago now.
But a lot of these places, unfortunately, again, it's a sign of the economic climate, I'm afraid, and places are closing down. So those opportunities go. But when some opportunities close, other opportunities open. So
I used to work with Leslie. Yeah. And got secret house. Many years now. Yeah. Yeah.
It's back to the service buses once more. When any member of the public enters the public bus, where are the seat belts on the service buses?
Yeah, the question of seatbelts on public transport is again down to UK legislation because in the design and build regulations on vehicles, they're not necessary as part of public service buses. Coach services, which are limited stop services, are different. But until the UK decides to change legislation, ordinary buses, unless an operator decides to put him up for his but no operator has to put seatbelts on a public service vehicle. So until UK legislation is changed and they must put it, it'll stay without seatbelts.
Isn't it against the law not wearing them on the service buses?
Not at the moment, only on coaches.
When is this going to take place?
It's something that they haven't decided upon, and it's like all laws that are formulated in this country. It can take years and years because there's always a contraview to the view that somebody has, and they have to debate it ad nauseum on these issues.
What happens if someone stop suddenly and public people on that bus would go flying. What safety rules apply to the public?
Taking up your point about buses stopping suddenly, it's one of the issues that we ensure that all the operators instruct their drivers to be courteous and drive their vehicles in well driven, and it is part of the training now the drivers have to have, that they must consider the passenger. Unfortunately, like all individuals, they possibly have their off days, and some drivers forget what their job is, and they forget about the passenger. But we certainly are putting this message to the operators that they must think of the passenger first, and maybe not the directors of the company.
Thank you very much.
To thank Sean, Gareth, June and Donna for answering all those questions so well. I think particular praise has to go to Gareth for using Latin without being laughed at, because whenever I've used Latin in a case like this, I usually get derided by the press. So thanks everybody for answering questions, and well done everybody for asking such good questions, and I hope that we take something away from this. So thank you very much. I don't know whether Nick wants to...
Yeah, this is for transport. Will Aberystwyth ever have an indoor bus station?
Another good question, and without knocking down a lot of the old buildings, probably not. The problem we have, even with the new bus station that's been provided, is the very limited space, and you have to fit the new bus station into a very limited space and have it operate on a trunk road. So it's very, very limited. So the existing location does have the advantages that it will now interlink with a train station, taxis, and very close to the town centre, much better, and there'll be more provision for pedestrians. The aim of the project is to provide a much better pedestrian environment, and not only in levels and surfaces, but also in a visual aspect, so that people can enjoy that part of Aberystwyth. So when it's finished, and do bear with us, there are some issues with the land ownership there. When it's finished, it'll be a lot easier for everybody to travel.
It's just that your own taxi drivers have actually asked for an indoor bus station to connect to the taxi rank, so they've got somewhere to stop over, and they've actually said this. It's been needed for about 10 years, so why not?
I would take what a lot of taxi drivers say with a pinch of salt, but...
I'll tell them. Right, okay. Right, that's all we've got time for, mercifully. And we've got a 10-minute break now where everybody can go and have a nice cup of tea. So once again, thanks very much to our speakers today for their grid and giving round of applause.